Hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Karen. I've had a cold and I've just got my voice back, so sorry I'm a bit husky, but I've got some stuff that's pretty important to show you at the moment because it's going through Queensland government. Okay, the Fueling Hate Report. So back in 2023, Uh, this report was an investigation into anti trans hate in Australia, compiling of data from over 3,099 survey responses, including 1,309 responses from the trans community. So the rest were people who self identify as women. Now let's have a look how they collected that data. So the Fueling Hate Report. So sister girl and brother boy are slang for lesbian and gay in the Aboriginal community. Here we go. We divided the survey into questions about what people had seen and experienced online and in person. The survey was open to anyone aged 18 and over from any state or territory. It ran for 9 days from the 17th to the 25th of April 2023. It was promoted on social media by project team members, community controlled organisations, civil society groups, and community members. It took 3 minutes on average to complete, and they had an average completion rate of 85%. That made it the largest ever project of its kind and one of the most extensive samples of trans um, Australia had ever collected. Yeah. And here's their infographics. So half of these people, or more than half, are self-identifying as women. So 9 in 10 witnessed online anti-trans hate. 1 in 2 experienced anti-trans hate. 1 in 10 experienced anti-trans violence. But there are no police reports or anything that come with this. Like I said, it's just an anonymous online survey. So, trans people experience all those things. Pause and read. So, based on all those things, which basically wasn't very many people, 3,099 out of the entire country, they would like to introduce federal and state anti-vilification laws to protect the entire LGBTQIA plus community from abuse, harassment, vilification and violence. Work together with social media companies to stop the spread of anti-trans disinformation and anti-LGBTQIA plus hate groups. Strengthen media regulations to ensure greater accountability for news outlets that promote anti-trans disinformation and investigate community-led interventions to curb anti-LGBTQIA plus extremism and de-radicalisation approaches, provide funding for further research into causes and impacts of anti-trans abuse, harassment, vilification and violence, and strategies for addressing them. So, based on anonymous online surveys that they promoted within their own community, they would like to have federal and state legislation put in. And it's happening right now in Queensland. So let's have a look at the report. So, yeah, pause and read that if you like. It's pretty big and I'm sure you can read it as it goes past. Anyway, da 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 da. Safe schools. So they had an anti-bullying program aimed to create supportive school environments for LGBT plus young people that provided training to teachers in 2015. It got canned. Well, it's well and truly in the schools now, isn't it? So I'm not really quite sure what that's all about. And the best bit though is their references. So they get a lot of their information from like The Guardian, The Guardian, ABC News, The Guardian. And then we have marriage equality postal survey. Now, wasn't this an anti-trans and anti-self-identifying as women hate survey? What's the marriage equality thing got to do with it? I suspect it's got to do with this. Something I found in the Dentons documents. On page 20, tie your campaign to a more popular reform. In Ireland, Denmark, and Norway, changes to the law on legal gender recognition were put through at the same time as other more popular reforms, such as marriage equality legislation. This provided a veil of protection, particularly in Ireland, where marriage equality was strongly supported, but gender identity remained a more difficult issue to win public support for. And it's worth reading point 8, avoid excessive press coverage and exposure. So, another technique which is used to great effect is the limitation of press coverage and exposure. So that's why a lot of people don't know about things until it's on the news while they're having their dinner. It's in their instruction book to work on the sly. So that's why that's in there. Anti-trans disinformation. So the idea that trans people use their identity to gain access to women-only spaces, to assault women. I'm pretty sure that the first part is enough. They use their identity to gain access to women-only spaces. Yeah, I haven't heard a lot about to assault women part. Anyway, and the outlet also argued that trans women have an unfair advantage in sports, which is also unsupported by evidence. Yeah, and they're changing legislation in Queensland right now based on this report. Anti-trans lobbying and politics. Pause and read. And their terrible references. Now, this has coincided with bills banning drag shows. Now, it doesn't say drag shows for kids. No one has said, nah, we don't want drag queens playing in bars and, clubs and stuff. People have got problem with them being in the library and in schools and stuff teaching kids to read. So, in the UK, there had been coordinated attacks on key institutions and organisations that support the trans community, such as the Youth Suicide Prevention Service Mermaids. Oh, that one hasn't aged well. Moral panic, social license, and disinformation. So, once again, they bring up the postal survey and why they need to get it into the schools. And if you're not into what they're into, you're a Nazi. And they've got some demographics and some more info things. And so basically based on hardly any information at all, on some anonymous survey results, no police reports, they've come up with this great big report. Blame Kelly J. Keane coming to Australia and getting assaulted in New Zealand a lot. Now, based on that online survey of anonymous stuff, sign our statement of solidarity with the trans community. So their rights to safety and to access healthcare. Doesn't mention they want to change state and federal legislation in that bit, does it? And it doesn't mention that in this pledge either. But still, lots of organisations have already signed it. So we've got Victorian Trades Hall Council, that's that Brett guy. We've got ACON, Albany Pride, Ozpath. So there's a lot of NGOs and organisations that feed off the LGBTQI plus organisations. So feed off, I mean that they make money from. Decolonize sex work. That's an interesting um, name. I think there might have been prostitutes in the Bible, weren't there? Anyway, so some more. Yes, so these organisations, the unions all support them because the LGBTQI plus organisation is mostly the Socialist Alliance and the Greens. Look, we've got Tiny Pride there. They're in Ballarat. Yep. So that's also why all the unions support them because of the Socialist Alliance and why all the Labor governments are into it, and also why it gets easily into the councils when you've got endorsed Green members on your council. So that's why all the union men prefer their women to have Y chromosomes. And they want these laws to pass. So trans women are women. So if a bloke wakes up in the morning and finds that he's had a bit too much to drink and the person in the bed next to him turns out to be a biological man, there's no recourse. Okay. I personally consider that to be rape when trans women don't disclose to men that they're trans. However, come legislation time, I won't be able to say that. And any man who wakes up in that position won't be able to have an angry outburst because that'll be considered a hate crime. And as well as Queensland, it's getting pushed in New South Wales using this report. So here we have Alex Greenwich. And if we click on that link to the Guardian article, allow self ID in New South Wales, given that the report, more than half of them were people that self ID'd already, so they weren't people from New South Wales, which then makes the maths even harder for me. Anyway, why this is so important, read all that. So, like, he's a pretty big kahuna, and what he hasn't gone and checked that the survey results of 3,099 people, that's an anonymous online survey, took 3 minutes to do, and he's going to campaign for changing legislation based on that. Mm. Anyway, I think I've had way too much cough medicine, and I need to go and have a nap now. That'll do. See you later. Bye.